All right. So this is the Q&A session for Arc 3 of Golden Squad. What was it? The Russian arc? What I call it? Comrades arc?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think it might have been my favorite one that we did in total. I know it
I
was your
think it was
first.
really it was a good like get your feet in with the team building. It was serious but silly. And it was a lot happening as well for like the intrigue in past character interactions to bringing in new characters, new bad guys, and then like new areas. Because I mean, beforehand it was all inner city kind of drama, and now it was like, well, you're going on the world stage. Buckle up.
Yeah. Before we get too far, I wanted to say something.
Mm.
Um, I wanted to tell everybody about my bad luck. So this weekend was Thanksgiving, and I decided to give myself a break from editing. And I was like, oh, I want to go visit my family. I'll finish episode 19 when I get back from Thanksgiving. And I came back to my computer just completely dead. It had decided to just rip apart its own RAM for whatever reason, and it crashes upon opening any program. So I had to buy new RAM, which is on the way here, but it's definitely not going to arrive before the episode's going to come out. So this next episode is going to be delayed, hopefully before not too long, a few days, hopefully, but we'll see. And I thought I was going to be able to catch up. I was like, oh, I can make it. I still got like 3 days. I can try to maybe edit on my laptop, and that's what we're recording on now. And my kid got the flu, so I spent the last 2 days home with him, and there's no quiet when he's awake. So yeah, all my editing time and
Free time.
I guess editing ability has been taken away. So it's like, okay, well, the universe really does not want me to edit episode 19. It's unfortunate. Episode 19, 20, 21 are the intermission for the Golden Squad, like how we got our name, how we got the
Mm-hmm.
name of the podcast. So it's like, uh, I really would
Where
have
it's
liked
first
that to
mentioned. Yeah.
been like on schedule. Yeah, a few days delay for 19.
So an interesting side thing here. It will be the second time someone has had RAM die while recording. First time was me back in April or May of this year. I had my RAM die on my computer during the middle of a session, so that was fun. Which is, so now that we've had that happen twice, but the amount of times someone has gotten sick and that has impacted the recording is also a few. That's like
Oh
real.
yeah. So I get sick all the time. I might be sick right now. My kid got the flu or something, and I have like a tickle in my throat. I live sick. That's a
Yeah, you have a
life of a
petri dish.
toddler. Yeah, he's not a toddler anymore. I don't know. He's always gonna be a toddler to me. Okay, so I wanted to ask people from the 6 people that are gonna listen to this if they really like. I've been publishing on Fridays. Is Friday good? Like, do you guys like Friday as a publish date? Because I can push it to Monday. I don't know if I'm going to finish by Monday, but I can like change the schedule on when episodes come out. So let me know. If
That's a
you
hard one.
have,
As someone
yeah,
who like faithfully listens to every episode as they come out, it's hard to like sit down on a Friday because there's usually a bunch of things happening and it's the end of the week, and that's kind of like Monday to me feels like I cannot wait to open up my Spotify or my whatever, audio listening
yeah.
program.
And
And
looking at
like,
the metrics, it's like
yeah,
I release it and I get nothing until Monday, and so it's like I guess people like to listen on the way to work or whatever
you're on your way to
at work.
work, you pull out your phone, you see what's the new hit list, and it's like, boom, this is the one I'm going for. When it's
Yeah, so
Friday,
maybe
you're not
maybe I'll
pulling out
move
your
it.
phone Friday. You know,
I
Friday you're
guess so.
like
The metrics agree.
texting. Yeah, you're texting. Where's the barbecue at?
People want to hang out with their friends on the weekend. People don't want to listen to podcasts by themselves. I don't think we have listening parties for our podcast anywhere. Okay, so first thing, I did it with the first 2 arcs. I'm going to do it with this arc too. I broke down the 7 episodes, 8 episodes, no, 7 episodes. So 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. I wrote down the total number of times that we each of the five of us cussed.
Oh no.
Who do you think the record holder is this arc?
Just this arc.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna kind of say Edward.
You would be wrong.
Is it Jade?
No,
Certainly, it's not you or me.
it's definitely not me. I'm at the bottom.
Oh my God, is it me?
It
Is
is
Callum
you.
a is Callum a sailor?
Yeah. And it was
Swear am I going?
especially um episode for you, episode 16. So,
Good
what
golly
was
gosh.
that?
That was like the first one. Second one?
No, no, that was the fifth one. So that must have been
So we're a
the
few in.
yeah. Let me pull up the list. 16, yeah. You had 11 swears in the swear jar.
7-11 hex? Golly geez, my goodness.
Which was Silo the Knowledge. So I was in the silo still,
Oh yeah, we were punching a lot of people.
getting milked up by Stu.
Mm-hmm.
That episode was actually not the most cussed episode either. It was 17, the one after that, the helicopter one, out
Was
of
I
the
the one
frying
who
pan.
swore the most on that one too?
No, that one was actually Justin.
Oh, okay.
That was Zach. Yeah, Zach had 11 that one. You had 9, so you were in second place.
Just barely.
I had 6 for the 7 episodes. I swear on average once an episode.
You know, I feel like my time spent with my nieces and nephews these last few months have really curtailed that, and I wasn't hanging out with them as much when we had first started because I was so busy with other things. So I'm hoping that those metrics really go down as I've been hoping to keep my language to a more civil tongue, as they say.
Yeah, I mean I don't mind, but
It is funny to see
it
what
was
words we use in
number.
certain situations, though.
I mean for Edward it's always fudge, so that's great. I guess for
Fudge.
everybody it's either beep or fudge. Yeah. um. Yeah, I tried to get a few others, but fudge was just too funny to have that one specifically. So you know
It
exactly what he
always
personally.
makes me laugh.
You're not the first one to say that, and I mean, there's a few that, especially the one where he was doing the voice and I sped it up to make it high pitched.
Yes, where you pitch matched the fudge.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm gonna get to some questions. Actually, there was only one person that asked a question. Makes me sad. I wanted to get more, but I came up with a few that I think people might ask, so I'll ask those two. Of myself, of us. Okay, so there's one dude. He seems to be pretty active on our accounts. So he's been interacting with a lot of our stuff. His name is Brandon. He asked, how far ahead have I planned the campaign? So
That's a good question.
the first thing I did was write the antagonist story. And then I kind of wrote like how players might interact with the antagonist. The antagonist story doesn't have an ending though. So I didn't write it to completion. So I wrote it more like how would you interact with this situation? So you're in the volcano base with the villain. He's built these laser traps or whatever. Like how are you gonna defeat this? Because if you write any further, then you've basically railroaded your players into not having any free
Mm-hmm.
will. So
I like that idea where you're not creating the story, but you're essentially creating the character who is creating the story. So that way you provide the mechanism to make those decisions without having predestined the adventure. Good
yeah.
use.
So, and I mean, there's obviously more than one antagonist in the story, but the way that I've been doing it is like as you guys progress, I kind of like take a step in the antagonist's shoes as well off screen. So while all the player characters are doing their thing and exploring Russia, the antagonists are also planning their thing and improving their or like progressing their story. So
Yeah. How would they respond to the situations that we are presenting to them? And then, it's kind of a back and forth between us where we do something, they do something, and then we respond to everything.
and you guys, I mean, we're decently far ahead of where we are recording wise, and so I think where we're actually at ahead of like in I guess in real time that where we're at. I think we just recorded episode like 48 or something, and there we've just had a big explanation of a lot of
Reveal.
the antagonists. Yeah. So I think there's some exciting things, especially like the one that we're going to record next is going to be like a big change in a lot of plans. So I'm really excited about that. And I'm excited to share it with everybody once we get there in like 6 months. But I'm hoping the story will like interest people long enough. So we're for everyone listening,
I have
the
to
plan
say,
is there's going to be about 50. Yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I think I just looked. It was session 41, so we've definitely gotten up there. We're about 20-ish ahead. I really liked the name I came up with. I don't want to say it because I feel like it's a little bit spoilery, but it's one of my favorites. Just for
The
the
names of the episodes.
yeah, but the one that we just
The
did.
one that we just recorded. I'm gonna look.
Yes,
I'm gonna look. I've not seen it yet.
I thought it was pretty good.
Player
A little
names.
bit, but it is very very refreshing to see like where we are right now in released episodes, where we are in the recorded episodes, and seeing like the thread that has connected them all together. Like they definitely are kind of, so different in a way, but like even though we're facing different challenges, there's like the background is always still kind of the same, and I've really liked to see where that's led the group.
Here's another part to his question too. Well, Brandon
Thank you.
also asked, "Is there a time when the players have acted in a way that made me change my plans?" All the
Oh
time.
yes. Yeah, huh?
Actually, I want to ask you. Do you ever have the desire to like make me have to rethink something that I'd planned? Like, are you pushing towards
I
the
don't
edge of the
think you've
sandbox?
Yeah, I don't think I've never been yes no'd by you. It's always been a yes and. So it's like, yes, we'll do this and, we'll work it in this way. And you've definitely kept it within the realm of like what's possible for us. I don't think there's ever been in a moment where I'm like, well, that's kind of silly. I want to do this or this or this. Man, I was just going to say one thing, but I can't because we haven't gotten to that episode yet. There was one point I could like directly point to that would be like, well, we didn't do exactly what we wanted in here, but it still worked out, and I think it was almost better for it. But you're very flexible with what you've given to us.
I have to, yeah. I've actually had the most trouble with you
Oh,
since
I'm sure.
since Theo left. Theo pushed the boundaries constantly, and I had a really hard time keeping her like in the realm of like she wasn't like breaking the rules of the world, but she was like making it really hard to plan because like the decisions weren't decisions that I would expect from a character. So it's like
Mm-hmm.
I spent a lot of time thinking about like how would Theo approach the situation. Okay, she's an old lady. She has this like Nancy Drew upbringing or whatever, where she's nosy, she likes to gossip and do all the like. I was like, okay, so this lady would approach this situation this way, and I planned for that, and I was like, okay, well maybe she's not going to do that. I'm going to plan for this alternative, and she would always find ways to slip between the the choices, and I was like, yeah. And I think I might have mentioned it before, but I kind of had to railroad you guys in the beginning. The first arcs, I guess this doesn't apply to you because you weren't there, but everybody else, I was like, okay, it's only a squad if everybody meets up, right? It wasn't a squad back then either, but it's only like you want the party to meet at some point, and so I was like, I'm
Mm-hmm.
gonna have the prequel session, the Awakenings arc, to get them used to the game and like tell a little bit of their backstory of their character, and then the end of the
Yeah.
Awakenings arc is when they meet.
It's kind of like the quintessential tavern scene. It's kind of like the cliche for every starting group is you meet in a tavern. But
Right.
for the starting of this one where everyone is so disjointed to mesh them all together, and I really liked the individual storyline views of each character in their day and then them leading up to that, the funnel into the Phi. And then I thought that was a very smooth transition into it.
So I don't know if I told you this, but my original plan for Theo was she was going to be an old lady, and I had to answer the question why she was not 30 years better at doing powers than everybody else because she's 30 years older. So I was like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
like she's not going to be like just developing her powers at 60 years old. Why are they so delayed? And so I came up with the idea. I was trying to answer that question, And it's like I said, I'm trying to balance the game role playing element with game mechanics. And so I'm like trying to answer the game
Mm-hmm.
mechanics question of like, why is she not better? Like, obviously, at that age, she should have been well understanding of her power. She's not going to like evolve her powers like the rest of you. So my answer to that question was, okay, she lost her memories and she's slowly getting them back. And with her memories went the ability to use her like specific elements of her powers. And maybe as she's like, as you guys are going through the campaign, she's like starting to remember and like the memories are coming back to her. So when we recorded hers, so first of all, she forgot to push record. Like I forgot to remind her to push record, that we were both needing to push record in the session. So I was like, I forgot to remind her. She didn't push record, so we didn't have her voice on the recording at all. So I was like, oh, okay, well that's already ruined. But she hated the ending. She hated the way I kind of like took her agency of like what her character wanted to do. I was like, okay, you wake up, you're 20 years older, and uh, you have no memory of how you got there. Um, I think I said like you're in a warehouse, you're hanging out with your boss Jeff, who is injured on the ground. Like, what do you do? And she's like, wait, what? And I could tell in her voice that she was like, really? Like,
This isn't what I wanted.
yeah. She's like, I don't want to be a 20-year-old in a 60-year-old's body or whatever. Or 30-year-old in a 60-year-old body. So I was like, I don't want to play that character. I was like, well, I remember answering her. I remember exactly what she said, because she like I kind of like took it out of myself. I was like, man, I really shouldn't have done that. I should have asked her before I did that. But she was like, I remember saying, oh, it's kind of like Captain America, like right? He kind of like wakes up in the future, and she's like, yeah, but Captain America still had his same body. I was like, oh, that's a good point. He wasn't like a different person when he woke up. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean,
that's a fair.
it was an interesting where you have that dynamic of like the old and the young, because all of us now are in that same age group where we are all young powered. I feel like that character could have added a lot to the story with the age, and I don't know if we can say anything of like where the story's gone and like when powers first developed and stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know
So
if you would have written anything for it, but that could have been like super cool in the storytelling
yeah,
aspect.
that's what I was like, but I didn't want the storytelling to take away from the like game part of it, because I was like, I could tell she
Mm-hmm.
really wouldn't have had fun. She didn't want to play like a kid in an adult in like an old lady's body. She wanted to be the old lady.
Yeah,
By doing that, I had taken the choice from her, and I was like, okay, let's rewrite your ending. So
like
she
Tom Hanks
basically
and Big.
rewrote the entire session. And so that's why her entire recorded session is only like 30 minutes in the Awakening arc. It's because it's like we basically rewrote her ending, because she was like, yeah,
Like do it
I don't
again.
love that. It's like, oh yeah, that's fine. I mean, I was just trying to answer a question for you, and I really should have asked you. I shouldn't have done it for you. And I mean, this is my first time like DMing, so it's like she was the first one I recorded. I learned something.
What's been your favorite
Yeah.
aspect of DMing? What's been your least favorite? There's a question from me
Ooh.
just now off the top of the cuff.
I really like trying to guess what you guys are gonna do. It's like planning specifics for situations. For whatever reason, I'm really good at planning Justin's. Zach's, like I can for whatever reason exactly predict what Zach's gonna do. You're a lot harder to predict. I mean, there's a few on the latest arc that we're recording now. Zach has thrown me a few times. The whole conference room scene. Did not I did not see that coming. But
What
there's
a conference room scene
like,
that was.
yeah, unexpected for sure. And then the sometimes I mean, DMing. Okay. I don't there's not too many like down like I don't hate DMing. There's nothing really hate about it. I think the most annoying parts are not being able to tell the full story, cuz I think it's a
Mm-hmm.
mix of telling a story as a podcast and telling a story to like playing a game, I guess. So it's
You
not
have
just,
the
yeah.
you almost have like three different versions of everything that's happening. Is you have the story in your head that sounds good to you, the story that would be good for the podcast, and then the story that we as the players are presenting. Because I feel like all of those are going to be different.
Yeah. So like juggling like, hey, I think it would be a really good story if this were to happen, but because it's not happening to any of the players, I can't say it. Like that part is I think the most annoying to me.
Trying to interject your story elements in an organic way where the squad just picks it up and runs with it.
Yeah, I mean, and like finally, in the very last episode, there's a big like, hey, all this stuff that's been happening. Here's all of it. So in 20 episodes, you'll understand a lot more, listener. Yeah, and I came up with a few other ones. There's one that I wanted to say because I think someone might ask it in the future, and this has a degree of planning too. So I wanted to be really careful when I did this. So specifically relating to the poem or the premonition that you guys were given in this arc, travel down the path foretold to find your crystal fen control. That one, the one that starts out like that. That took a fair degree of like I had to do a lot of guesswork and a lot of I have to like set up a lot of situations that make it possible. But that premonition was entirely possible to not come true. So I was like, I was trying to set the dominoes up in a way to make it true. So I think the first example, the first place that it could have not been true would be. I mean, I guess you guys could have been like, find my crystal friend. Nah, we're going home. Screw Gabe. But I was like, that's not really the character. They're probably going to go look for him. They're probably going to find him. But to escape the depths, take to the sky, that part of it, I was like, they may not fly out of there. I'm going to make it like good option. And I think I brought it up. I had intended you guys to take the missile out as like a,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like doing math on like how far can Jade teleport, and you guys could like program the missile to like skim the trees or whatever, and she could just like teleport down and then back up with one person and like take you guys away part by part. And I guess Callum could fly,
Mm-hmm.
but I was like, you guys could escape that way. I mean, it would be going really fast, and I tried to like leave it like, oh, it has a open cargo hold where you guys, because it was been repurposed to launch satellites, so it has a bay of emptiness in it that you could. I try not to like point too hard that I wanted you guys to do that. And you guys ended up not doing it. So another
Boy,
example of
didn't
not
we?
going the way I planned. But it turned out to be true anyway, and I didn't intend it to be. So like you guys could have teleported and got a vehicle and drove to the sub or something like that, or got a tank. I said there were tanks on the way. You guys could have stolen a tank and used a tank to drive there, and then the premonition wouldn't have been true. But you guys took a helicopter instead, and I was like, okay, well, I guess I set it up in a way that still made it true, even though it wasn't intended. I think if it would have been, if you guys would have driven there or whatever, I just would have had the like, okay, well, maybe not all premonitions come true. Maybe that's the route we take, because I can't control the players. So I mean,
Mm-hmm.
maybe this is a world where premonitions aren't always true.
But it did technically come true. So,
Right?
that
Yeah.
count that as a W.
As it stands now, premonitions always come true. That may change, but like terms subject to change without warning. I think one other question that I came up with. This is the first introduction of a bunch of powers. So we got to see the 7 members of the SZS with powers. So I think someone might ask in the future like how I created them, and the answer is I use a website. There's like a superpower wiki page, and they have a random button, and I will click that, and 9 times out of 10 it is a garbage, nothing power. Like I'll click it right now. We'll see what we get. Let's see. Random superpower page. What do you give me? Very high metabolism. Okay, cool. That's not a superpower. Sure, they can eat a lot. That's cool. What Goku's
Sounds
probably
like
a
me.
known users. Monkey D. Luffy. Cool. I don't recognize many of these other people. Stalking Anarchy from Panty and Stalking with Garter Belt. I've never even heard of that. Okay, so
Oh, so yeah, stalking. Yeah, that's like weird. You're getting like in the rabbit holes here. We got to go back. Get out while you can.
yeah. So there's like when you generate these powers, it's complete. You're like subject to the weirdness of this wiki. So I
Yeah,
used to play a
it's
game
whatever's
at
been
work.
entered in by multiple people over the years.
Yeah. I used to play a game at work where we'd click the button and we'd see what like superpower we'd have for the week, and that'd be the game. But what I'll do is I'll just generate a bunch until it runs into one that's actually like useful. And I think
Hmm.
that's how I got 2 or 3 of them. There's a few that I know I wanted. So Void was actually one that I created intentionally, and I created Void directly to because a lot of your guys' powers have line of sight, and I was like, okay, how do I take line of sight? I need to have a character that blinds. So um, maybe I can do area effect denial, but then he's going to be blind too. Okay, I'll make him blind already, so it's just like he doesn't lose anything when he does it. So I mean, there were like uh, Void and Mountain were both like I needed characters like that to help counter your guys' abilities.
Mm-hmm.
And a good half to a third of them were just random from this wiki. And just kind of like after that, it's like I have 2 or 3 left. What do I do? What sounds cool? Oh, someone that's on fire kind of sounds cool. Uh, since we lost our other firebender, so it's like okay, we gotta have somebody that does fire.
I will say
So
it's
yeah,
actually kind of interesting to see that we haven't had duplications of powers. They've all almost been unique in their own ways.
yeah, I've been trying to do that just based on the lore and the story I have about how many people with powers there are. I could have it like I mean, have you seen the movie Push?
Yes.
Yeah, it's like well they have powers there, but there's only like 10 different types of powers. So it's like I mean, I could have most people are either telekinetic or telepathic or
It's an
psychic or whatever
interesting
the like
story
4 powers are. Yeah, like
where everyone's limited to the same powers. It's more of just how they use the powers that differs, or like the strength of their power capabilities. It's kind of how you separate and work through that.
but I think I like the diversity because then
Mm-hmm.
in situations where you guys are getting the support of another character that I play. So like say JJ comes in. Like how are you going to utilize JJ because his is different than everybody else's. Like how are you going to
Well,
utilize his
his is
power set to
literally
help you?
taking someone else's, and the
Yeah.
combos that
Copying.
you can build off of that is such a unique experience in and of its own because every person's is unique. It really is like, well, now what happens if we have two of this person?
Yeah. So like giving you guys options with who you work with, I think is the main reason why I chose to do it that way. And there's been a few that are similar, like Jade's power is pretty similar to Exchange's power, which I don't think is in the story yet, so spoilers. But yeah, so there are similar, and I guess in episode 19, 2021, you'll get to see a lot more powers because that's when the
5-powered tournament.
Golden Squad Challenge, yeah, is coming up. The 5 power, yeah, exactly. All right, I don't think I have anything else.
No questions for me as a player.
No, we got
Okay.
one question total from our BFF Brandon
No, I meant you. You asking me.
towards you. Yeah. Um, what was your favorite like? So from as a player, not for Callum, but what was your
Mm-hmm.
favorite like situation that Callum was put into in this arc?
100% Dale. 100%. Like the organic creation of this silly side character, this NPC who is just driving us around, like it was just so off the cuff and we was so laughy about it in the beginning, and it slowly evolved where he was like, it was like, well, at first he was just outside the building and he grabbed the safe, and then he went to the safe house, and then he was, driving us to this missile silo, and then it was just like it was so small and innocent, like, oh well, don't forget Dale, so go back for Dale. But then it escalated, and that was like it was so
It's a
organic
key
in the way it
plot
happened.
point.
Yeah, it was like just for some silly shenanigans, we had this huge plot development, and I absolutely loved it. I was like, that is the best storytelling because it wasn't planned. It was just so fun. I really, really liked that.
You caught me off guard when you grabbed Dale because I was legitimately going to execute him. Fake. It was going to be fake. He was going to be pretend
Yeah,
dead.
it was gonna be morph, so it'd be like, well, he's
Yeah,
not
right.
really dead, but
Yeah. They were going to like use a blank and execute him to like try to get you to come out and like we have more of your friends and there's going to be like a lie to get you guys to come out. And it was like I was trying to put myself in Morph's shoes. I was like holding back a smile when we were doing that. I'm like, okay, you're undercover as the enemy, and they just came and rescued you. Like,
Yep.
what do you do? Like, yeah, thanks, buddy.
Lay low. It's,
Yeah. So I'm
I
like,
think.
in like like in hindsight, you can kind of look back at me trying to think about what to do in his shoes. So I'm like
Hmm.
having him say like, okay, we don't want to turn on the radio because they have technology that they'll be able to find you. So don't turn on, don't talk to anybody. Like let's go silent runnings all the way back because like he definitely doesn't want like the real Dale checking in. So it's like,
I think that was one because it was a person generated event that led to story event rather than it being a GM created event that goes to a story. I think
you could
anytime
almost
that you can
say,
take something the players do and kind of throw it back at them is a very enjoyable experience.
and not only that, I think like I mean I kind of had it planned, but arc 5, 2 arcs from now, like it comes back again, right?
Hmm? There was
And
another
like
one that I was going to point out too. I think we already mentioned it, but the conference room scene was so funny. That was still I still think about that was really funny. But we can't talk about that because that was
yeah,
arc 6. It's like, no one knows about this. Like
we'll get there.
what was the funniest scene that has happened, or like my favorite scene up until that moment would be the Dale. Dale was so fun. I mean, drinking with the mountain, good times, but I think that was like a really fun moment.
I loved one of my favorite reactions from you was you used your power to check his skills as you were like walking to
Yes.
the office. I told you he's like, oh yeah, he has 15 strength, and you're like, I'm dead. I'm dead. I'm gone. I've lost. I've already lost. And then he rolled like a nat 1 play.
Bro's gonna punch out my stomach. Callum is not a strong boy.
Yeah, fun stuff. All right. So yeah, I guess listener, we will hopefully hear from you soon. We'll try to answer questions in the next session like this, the community outreach. If you haven't already, you can follow us and ask questions on social medias. I try to respond to I think I have responded to everybody, but yeah, and I guess if this is long ago, like if this was because this is I guess a recording, right? So like if this recording happened 2 months ago or 3 months ago or 5 months ago or 2 years ago, whatever, you could still feel free to reach out.
Whenever you're listening to this, reach out. It's okay. We're still here. Hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully COVID-26 hasn't got us by now.
Maybe.
Yeah, so I guess long story short, we love you.
And this is Callum, played by Alex. Thanks for listening.